What's good, my ghouls and goblins? A happy birthday to you. How you doing? Here we are, 1 year anniversary episode of Really Scared Live. I got to tell you, Connor, I'm actually surprised that we made it here.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy that we've pretty consistently managed to do this every single Thursday night for a whole year. There's like not much I can really feel that I've committed to in that level in life. And
it's been like one constant throughout this weird year, but
right.
We are 1 year later.
Right. It's, and it came up fast, We got quiz show Jeff Alderman in the chat. Freaks is really solid. It is really solid. We are going to be talking about Freaks tonight. We are going to be talking about Freaks tonight after I just get my sentimental feelings out real quick that we hit the 1 year mark. I don't know. I'm just excited about this because, in some ways I feel like this Really Scared show was, kind of done on a whim.
Yeah.
It was our quarantine project. I've actually seen a lot of like podcasts and streams and shows like this. I feel like I've seen a lot in the last month or so being like, hey, 1 year anniversary. Because we all went on that like ride together. It was like, okay, we're stuck inside, can't go anywhere, can't go to work, can't see my friends. I guess I'll start a podcast. I feel like I see a lot of people who took that route, and all power to them. We did the same thing, and we made it to the 1 year mark. So I'm psyched. We've had a lot of good times on this show, a lot of good memories, made a lot of good friends.
Yeah.
And we're still your small fry friendly neighborhood horror movie podcast, but like at the same time, I feel like we've had so many cool opportunities, met so many cool people, and talked about so many different. I've seen so many movies that I haven't seen before.
I know, yeah. I've seen a lot of movies in the last year. I mean, this year alone, we're about 5 months in. I'm already at like 215.
215. Look at you crazy bastard. It's been a really fun ride, and we're at the 1 year mark. I'm drinking a sparkly lacto cooler, and it's giving me a tummy ache.
I got the new blackberry White Claws. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Just having some birthday drinks.
Some B-Day drinks. It feels like we've really come to like, the end of a saga of sorts, because it's like we just got our vaccines. You know what I mean? And we're at the 1 year mark of the show, and so it's like, who knows what the hell is next? We're on to the next chapter of Really Scared. We started this new format this year. We've been having guests on every single week. It's been a lot of fun, and got to do a lot of cool things that I didn't expect. I never had like any illusions about being like the world's greatest podcaster. Not that I am in any respect, but for something that we did kind of on a whim, we just sort of threw some shit at the wall and to see what would stick. I feel like a lot of stuff ended up sticking for us. So.
Oh yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited that we're still here and we're still doing this. And I still got the top goblin riding shotgun with me on this.
Always, every Thursday.
Every Thursday. Couldn't do without you, brother. So cheers for the lacto cooler to you. This one's for you. This one's for all the ghouls and goblins out there. Thank you. Oh, there it is. Yeah, right there in the camera. This stuff's vile. It's so sour. It's so sour. Welcome to Really Scared. I already see here's the other cool development is that my Wi-Fi has been terrible lately, and I already see it threatening. So if I go like 180p, you gotta save the show, Connor. Happened when we had Chris on a few weeks ago, so be ready. It's been so solid all day, so of course I'd see it start tripping.
Right. Yeah, obviously.
Beautiful stuff. Thank you everybody who's been watching, listening. If you're watching, listening tonight, whether it's live or after the fact, thank you for sticking with us, for having fun with us. We appreciate you, and we are so grateful that you've been on this ride with us for the past year. Oh, it's getting real bad. Do I still look and sound okay?
Yeah, you're perfect. You're perfect.
I don't know what it's telling me. That's scaring me. Just like wave your hands in the air if I go like Mr. Roboto on you. Thank you for watching and listening. If you are, make sure to do all those great, wonderful things podcasts love for you to do. Go ahead and like us or subscribe to us or follow us, whichever you can do on your respective platform that you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you. It helps us out, helps us grow our platform. It helps us find new opportunities down the road. If you do listen to us on podcast apps, your podcast services, Connor, what could they do to help us out?
You know what? we're gonna want you to leave a little cutie, just like Nick Malbec. Just leave a little cutie.
Just a little cutie.
Just a 1 sentence cutie saying that you like the show. Maybe you like the movie that we talked about. Whatever. Just something real cute. And if you do, we'll read it on the show.
We'll read it on the show. If you haven't listened to us this year, this is in fact the horror movie podcast where every single week we are joined by a special guest to discuss a film of their choosing. And it being the 1 year anniversary of Really Scared, it only felt appropriate to bring back the very first guest we ever welcomed on this show. Out of pure spontaneity and chance. But he's
on the
been
very first episode.
Yeah, our very first episode. But he's been a very great friend to us ever since. This is now his fifth time on the show. I've lost count.
Something like that.
He's always showing up. He's always having a good time with us. We're very appreciative of 1BR producer, our great friend, Alok Mishra.
Welcome back.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, listen, this is the only podcast I've ever come on that much. So that should whether it was the lost episode of Rowdy Cats that we did, we got high, we watched Cats, and it was a mess. I don't even know if that ever aired. Or was it live? I forget.
It was live, and it's now been lost forever in a Scandinavian salt mine. You'll never get it back.
It's a sad thing, but it was probably for the betterment of all of us involved.
Yeah, man, you've second to the actual hosts of this channel, you've probably been on this channel more than anybody. You watched 3 Twilight movies with us.
That was actually a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. Just because you guys did a really good job of curating it with excellent guests, and it was so much fun. And I've always had a good time with you guys, and I consider you guys friends. If you guys ever come out to Los Angeles, you have a place to stay. If you come out soon, then you'll have a place to stay with just me, because the baby and the wife are gone to back east. So I'm by myself and left to my own devices. I don't know what kind of trouble I'll get up to. But
yeah, man. Absolutely. You've been a great friend of this show and this channel. There's never been anything I've ever pitched to Alok, and he's been like, "No, I think I'll sit it out." And I would never hold it against you if you're like, I don't really think I'm interested in watching Cats or the 3 Twilight movies, or you're always yeah, just tell me when. You've been a great.
I'll be honest, I was on the fence with the Twilight thing, but then I was like, you know what, let's see. But no, it was super fun, and you guys are awesome, and it was just almost kismet that I just saw you tweet. I would check our Twitter and stuff, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, they're gonna do a show about 1BR. All right, let me go check it out. And then I was just talking in the comments, they're like, let's bring him up, but I was like, all right, I'll come up. So that's how our friendship started a year ago. So happy birthday. Congratulations to the whole team. And
thank you.
It takes a whole team to put this on, I know. And it's amazing that you guys have been able, even, with, COVID and everything, sometimes things get boring or whatever. But it's amazing that you guys were able to, go forth and every Thursday put on a really good show. I get alerts from you guys. I think people should try to do that if they can as well, because that stuff just pops up in my shit sometimes. I'm like, all right, I got to see what they're doing. And I'll do looky loo, I won't let you know I'm there, but I'm there. So. It's been a great year. I think. It's been a shitty year, but it's been a great year for 1BR, and it's been a good year for doing podcasts. I want to say, hopefully, people listening to them and stuff. Yeah. So
we've all had to find kind of our project to stay sane amongst this past year, and Really Scared's definitely been that for me. All the cool things that have come as a result of it. It really is this always freaks me out when I think about it. Is just how the tiniest choices in your life, you never know what the butterfly effect map will come of it. The first episode of the show, it's so quaint. I'm sitting in my bed with my laptop, I'm just saying goodnight to Connor. We're talking about some movie news, and then boom, we bring you on. It's totally, we didn't see that coming at all. It's you just never know. We picked the right movie to check out at the right time, and we tweeted at the right time, and it's crazy, you just never know the little things you do, and the opportunities and cool things that can come out of it. And that's
totally but you guys do a good job week to week. Like I said, I listen to you beyond just 1BR shit and beyond stuff you bring me on for. You guys are very passionate about what you're talking about, and you're not afraid to talk shit on stuff and be real, and that's important. I'll be honest, because a lot of people are like, I might not ever get a sponsorship from WB if I shit on Mortal Kombat because it's a piece of shit. Like, I mean, allegedly, but yeah, I know it's a piece of shit.
I was gonna say it's 100% your ethos. Every time you come on, I feel like you say something, and then like immediately afterward, you're like, "Well, I probably could have not said that."
I mean, right? But like, actually, I did another podcast where I just completely talked about what a piece of shit Mortal Kombat was. But I did a favor. My friends at Warner Brothers, I never talk about it on Facebook like until like the week after it's released, let's say, because I wanted to have at least an opening weekend. Like, you know, sometimes a bamboozle is on. Like they need to make their money back, and they have to like cut together one of the best trailers I've seen in recent memory for a movie. That Mortal Kombat trailer was. But it was such a fucking lie. Like, you know, I mean, it was like, there's no Sub-Zero and fucking Scorpion in this movie until the end. And they don't use a Mortal Kombat song in the whole fucking movie, no the credits, and it's a fucking Skrillex fucking song. Skrillex remix of fucking Mortal Kombat. You know, I have a lot of problems with that movie, but I'm not going to go on about that tonight. Because tonight, we're talking about Freaks.
We're talking about Freaks. That was your film of choice this week. Not the 1932 film about a carnival sideshow, as I originally thought.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't wait to hear why Alok picked this. What a fascinating option.
Well, you know, it could have been inspired by Naomi Grossman. She had to watch that movie quite a lot for her Pepper part and stuff. Mm-hmm. But no, it was not that movie. And in fact, here's the secret I was going to tell you. I was promising to reveal to you. So there's a guy called J.K. and he had this show called Horror Happens. And I don't know if you've ever heard of him before, but he's sort of like a really cool sort of icon amongst the festival circuit and stuff. He actually did one of the like best reviews we had at Fantasia and stuff. And I became friends with him. And he has a class that he teaches at Montclair University. It's in New Jersey. He's from there. And it's an online class, right? And so he had like 6 movies he picked that he wanted his class to watch, and then he had the filmmakers on from. And I thought it was such a neat idea, and we were one of the movies, by the way, but I just fucking took the class. Like, I was like, you know, it's like $70. Like, I was like, all right. Like, I mean, I'm gonna get to talk. I mean, we're gonna have to ask questions to 6 really cool filmmakers and hear the stories about everything behind it. And one of the movies was Freaks. So I heard all this fucking cool shit that I'm going to tell you about tonight, in fact. So that's why I picked Freaks. I also love the movie, by the way. Like that movie gives me producer envy. Like when I see that movie and I see what they did with it, I'm like, God damn it, could we have done something as good as that shit? You know, like I mean,
but it's so crazy because I remember hearing about this for years. Like, oh, this movie Freaks is really good because I think it was it Toronto? I think it was Toronto. Premiered out in 2018, and then there was nothing about it. And then 2019, I think it was the end of 2019 or the beginning of last year. It was like, well, it's going to come to Netflix, and then it finally premiered on Netflix.
Well, it got a theatrical release actually, but it is what you said. It is like it came out. It premiered at Toronto in 2018. And then it waited a year. I don't know why they did that because that's just stupid. Like, I mean, they should have been on the ball to like release that. But I think that it was also needing to be bought, and it got bought by Well Go USA, like a Chinese company or whatever, right? And they waited till 2019 to put it out. I made approximately like $320,000 or $340,000 worldwide, let's say. Not as much as they wanted it to make, unfortunately. But then, you know, they put it on Netflix, and I don't know what kind of deal they got from Netflix. So hopefully, it's a good deal to make most of the money back. I think I did ask the question of it's a duo that directed it actually. Yeah. I asked them, you know, well, did you make the money back? And like, almost or something. They were like, oh yeah, or maybe they were like, yeah, we did, but it wasn't as much as they would have liked or something like that. So that was one part of it. And then I also asked them, I said, why isn't there a sequel for this movie?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, Amazon, I think it was, wanted to perhaps do a series. And I was like, that's even cooler actually in certain ways. And but they wrote the pilot and they didn't like the pilot, so it never happened. Oh, and I was like, well, I mean, someone's got to do a sequel for this. Like, I mean, I think you can still do a movie sequel. And they're like, well, someone wants to fund it. And I'm like, Because
it's crazy because this movie, like when I watched it, I was like, wow, this movie would have killed. I feel like it would have killed in the theater, like if it had like a traditional release, because this movie's so cool. I feel like it would have been like the next like Chronicle.
I think
this movie's so cool.
I think it was on a couple hundred screens was the thing, and I think they wanted to see what the reaction to it was, and then
build up.
Like ramp it up. But unfortunately, it didn't do, whatever it was supposed to. But like, I think it definitely played a lot of festivals and won a lot of awards. They were in
30 minutes. I was like, this is such great like sci-fi horror movie. This is
it's
so
kind
cool.
of like to me, it reminded me of it's mutants, X-Men, whatever. Okay, that parallel is hard to like not be there. But even despite sort of those sort of similarities, it was like sort of like what happens to a mutant family on the run, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of what it was, and kind of building a new universe out of something that you sort of are familiar with. I thought was really interesting, and and so well cast was the other thing. That was sort of a great story they told, where they were like, we were trying to cast this thing. At first, they thought like both of them are like, well, we should start from the beginning. So these two guys, these two directors, who were Zach Lipowski. How am I saying that right? Lebowski, or it's we'll call them Zach and Adam. Okay, Adam Stein. These guys met. They were on a television show, like one of those reality contest shows, let's say, like in the 90s, where they were on this show called On the Lot, and it was like Mark Burnett and Steven Spielberg produced, and all these filmmakers come together and like live together and have to like make shorts together, and then they get judged on this stuff, right? And so that's how these guys met. And they were like, I think the Zach guy had a special effects background, and the other guy was like, more of the hardcore director. And so it actually becomes kind of a perfect combination for this movie, because they had no money, and they wanted to actually cast the Adam guy as the Emile Hirsch character, and use his son in the movie, who was just like 5 years old and could give a shit, but now he's a pretty good actor apparently. But like, he's like, I need to do one take and be like, yeah, I feel like I nailed it. Like they're like, no, you're fucking 5. What the fuck do you know? And the other guy, the Zach guy, was going to be the Bruce Stern character, but he's going to be a much younger uncle who was sort of like in the picture. And thankfully for them, they kind of did some tests, and they realized that the son wasn't going to work out. And then they got a little bit of money behind it because some people liked it, and they were able to hire a casting director. And it's interesting, the stories they tell, and how how different people go about making movies, especially when you don't have any track record. Like you write actors letters like, oh my God, I wrote this for you, and like da da da, and then you hope that the agent gives it to the actor. Yeah, and some of them got answers back and was just like, I don't think there's any way to do this movie for the budget you have. So sorry, thank you, fuck you, kind of thing. And the one guy that actually responded back to the whole thing was Bruce Dern. And Bruce Dern, like he kind of saw the multi sort of layered character he'd play, because as they were saying, like, the whole thing about trying to go out to actors is they like to see range. Like they like to play big things and then like have range in the whole thing. And Bruce Dern is actually so perfect for it, because like you see sort of the menace, right? Creepy ice cream guy, whatever. But then you also see like how he cares for his daughter, and he cares for his granddaughter, and he just wants to make things right and get her out, and blah blah blah. And like so you see all these different sort of it's a multi-layered like performance, and Bruce Dern like pulls it off like immaculately. Like he is so good in this movie. And it's funny, like even from having like yellow teeth and laughing, I just was noticing. I was watching it last night, and I was like, man, he has some yellow teeth now. But every single thing he does is very purposeful, and he's apparently full of stories. As long as you can have one person sitting with him and just listen to his stories and stuff, he'll do whatever you want. Like he's a very nice actor that way. And so they got lucky getting him first, and then Emile Hirsch. It was a tough role to cast in that father, because like it's his father being a dick to like his daughter a lot of times. Mm-hmm. But I guess Emile Hirsch had just had a baby. I was like, no, he doesn't have to be. He can be stern, and he can be upset with her, but he can also then apologize to her and stuff, just the way you would do as a normal parent. And so he kind of saw the worth in that particular role as well and stuff. And then the girl, I mean, this fucking girl is just, I mean, she is what's her name? Lexi Calker, I guess, or whatever. She's been in a lot of stuff actually since. I mean, as a child, just a child actor. She's been in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all this good stuff. But she is amazing in this movie. Like, I don't know what she's going to do in her future, but that kid has a very bright future, I think, because she's the whole movie, really, in a lot of ways. But they got, very lucky with the casting and stuff. And so, they made this film that traveled the world, film festivals, and won just awards everywhere it went. Like, I mean, maybe that was part of it too, was that they didn't release it right away after Toronto because they wanted to kind of build some awareness of it, I'm going to guess, maybe. Mm-hmm. But, the smart move would have been to, like, have the awareness from Toronto and just release not soon after, because you have all this buzz going for you, and then people sometimes forget that buzz. But, maybe worldwide it was the best decision. I don't know. But yeah, that's some of the tidbits. What did you guys think of the movie?
Yeah, I'm glad you picked this one because it'd been something that I'd heard of, and like I'd seen it because I used to work in like one of the last freaking video stores that exist in this country, like pre-pandemic, and so I'd see it on the shelf a lot. I remember flipping it on and be like, this sounds interesting, what is this? But like never took the time to really sit down with it. I'd like noticed it hit on Netflix, so I'm glad you picked this one and finally gave us the opportunity to watch this. I dug it. Like Connor, you mentioned Chronicle earlier, and I feel like this totally fits in that sort of like niche subgenre realm of like Chronicle or like Unbreakable, where it's like these pseudo kind of superhero comic book influenced things, but they're not adaptations of anything. They're their own original stories, and they're not coming at it from like a costumes and capes angle. It's trying to really apply it in the real world, which I think the big IP Marvel stuff does now anyway too. They try to apply it in the real world as best as they can, but it's like this starts in reality and then branches out into the more genre sci-fi stuff first. I dug it. Obviously it does harken to like an X-Men thing. It's sort of, treating, superpowered individuals as like the other, it's creating that connection. But the difference, I think, in this is like stories like that usually kind of pick up in the middle of that story where it's like, oh, the battle's ongoing. Like we're working towards something. Whereas this, it feels like it's picking up after that. It's like the battle's lost, like societies come back together and like everybody's just mutually decide like, we hate those freaks. Like we're scared of them. We don't want to see them. And like, we took care of that problem. And so you have this little pocket of people hiding out, trying to survive and like find their normalcy again. But then also the real thriller aspect of it, where it like doesn't just give it all up to you up front, that aspect I liked a lot of, like trying to catch up and figure out what is actually going on. And
that's what I love about this movie. It just throws you right in it, in the middle of like the turmoil of this family, and then you get bits and pieces here and there, and then you finally piece it together, and it's like, oh, like that you really get invested in it like halfway through, where it's like you're starting to get all these pieces of information, and by that time you're just fully invested, and it's just such a cool movie.
Yeah, it really is interesting the way they sort of trickle sort of like details of the story out there, and then and just a great finale to the whole thing too, really, where it just, okay, well, you think it's this, now it is fucking this big, now it is this big, like you're like, oh, okay, it's really interesting the way it unfolds. But I think it's equally interesting the sort of scope of it. Even though it is a small movie, it kind of, you see this sort of bigger thing that it could be. It was interesting. They did a lot of sort of testing with friends and family. And they realized that, the whole thing with Emile Hirsch being able to do that bubble sort of thing, that you see, that wasn't there at all at the beginning. And then everyone kept on giving them notes, like, I don't understand what's going on. And then they realized, okay, well, we're going to have to figure that out, because the people aren't understanding that he has this sort of, whatever his power is denoted by this, time bubble thing or whatever. Yeah. So that was something they added in. And like, I don't know. They had the opportunity to go back and do some reshoots on it and stuff. So they that was one of the things they did. Hey, Jessica. They went back and they did that with some of the reshoots, and then they actually did in the guys in, I think, Adam's backyard or Zach's backyard. The part where the missile is gonna hit the house and it hits the house and like destroys everything, and then the mother comes to rescue, and then Emile Hirsch is like lying, like, you know, kind of dead or whatever. And I'm sorry, spoilers, but they went and shot that in their backyard. So they had this, like, you know, flaming piece of something over here that was like a guy standing by with a extinguisher, like, you know, probably not shot with permits, or, you know what I mean? Like, you know, they went and reshot that set to have more moments, that the emotional moments between like her and the kid, and like all the stuff that they didn't get before. But I thought that was very ballsy, because I mean, I'd shoot shit in my house, but I ain't shooting shit with fire in my house.
Yeah, I think it's smart how, I mean, obviously this is, you know, especially relative to what kind of story it's trying to tell, or does tell, I should say. It's definitely, you know, on the lower end budget wise. And I think they really wisely decide, like, okay, we do want to have that finale that's like befitting of this kind of story, but, you know, obviously those are expensive scenes to shoot and craft. So let's really contain it until that third act. And like, it feels kind of prescient into the movies that we'll probably be seeing coming out for the next year or so, I imagine, where it's like sort of one location centric shoot, you know, not a lot of actors. I felt like, God, you know, it feels like this movie would hit for a lot of people right now. It's, you know, a little, you know, at the end of the day, it's about a little girl who just so badly wants to go outside and can't stay home, you know?
I know. And it's, I don't know. I don't know, as a father of a, I don't know, 2.5-year-old, I guess, it does, when you have a kid, it's hard to like watch like kids getting hurt, you know. I think more so than it was before. Like, I was like, kill the kid, like, you know. But now I'm like, oh, don't kill the kid. Like, all right, kill the kid, you know. But you look out more, you feel more for that character, because, you know, you have a baby or whatever the thing is. And
sure.
And I find myself, like, I'm in this place right now where my wife and I are debating whether to beat the child or not. Everyone tells me I shouldn't, but I'm like, I don't know. I got beaten a lot and deserved it when I was a child. You know, and I turned out fine. So, you know, looking at Emile Hirsch's performance where he's just like shaking her and doing whatever else, and I was like, yeah. No, I'm not. No, but I'm like, yeah, I can see how it's a bad thing. You know, I've realized it more, and I see it with that performance. Well, you know what's interesting too? The other part I thought was really great towards the end is the whole sort of back and forth of her controlling the big dude and stuff.
Yeah.
He was friends with the directors, and they were like, "Hey, listen, we got a part for you, but it's weird. You know, like you're gonna be this little girl, and she's controlling you, and da 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 da." And so I thought that was a really interesting part as far as that. And we even mentioned Grace Park, who's in this as well, from Battlestar fame and everything. But I think this was like after Battlestar, I feel, right? But she's great in the film too. I mean, she does a very kind of subtle performance of this person you think is trying to understand and maybe, you know, put some humanity to these like freaks or whatever. But then you discover it's all bullshit. Spoiler alert or whatever.
That was like a big moment when she finally bit the bullet, almost literally.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah.
I was definitely kind of caught off guard by how sort of brutal this movie gets towards the end too. Like it gets pretty damn intense, especially with Bruce Dern in the diner though. Like, I was like, Grandpa, you got a little intense there. You been a little awkward there, Grandpa. I got to be honest.
He's dressed up as a priest too when he's doing this. Yeah, it's great.
And that was such a smart. I was like, oh, that is so smart. Like stabbing the eye because like the marker is like the bloody eye, and then they're like, his eye's bleeding, and then they just light him up. I was like, oh, that's smart. Yeah.
I mean, it is, and so the other part of the movie is that for locations, I think it's Adam's wife's family owns that diner, and they run that diner, And so it was like when they were thinking about locations, they're like, okay, we got a diner. We got to use this diner, you know? So that was kind of a cool thing that they actually were able to use what they had.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think it's like, it's also a testament to Zach guy because he has he had a VFX background, right? And I think that's why the special effects in this movie look so good, actually, is because that guy was probably, if not doing them, probably had a team of people he trusted that was calling in favors to, you know, try to get this, that, the other done. I mean, especially with the last third of the movie, for sure, where it's like every other shot seems like it's a VFX shot in some capacity and stuff. So that's another thing that makes the small movie seem a lot bigger. It punches much above its weight because it does have that sort of like, you know, thing. Like, I mean, like 1BR, we had my college roommate / high school friend who is one of the best sound editors and sound mixers like in the business and stuff. I mean, this guy does like Alice in Wonderland and like 21 Jump Street and shit like that. And we got him to do our movie for nothing. Like, you know, like it's one of those things you just happen to maybe be fortuitous that you have the background in it, or you have a friend who's good at it, who's willing to like help you and stuff. And so, but I think that's one of the things that really helped this movie is the special effects are actually punching much above the weight that what the movie probably that they got charged for, the production got charged for it. So. Yeah, and Amanda Cruz, is that her name? Who plays
Amanda
the mom?
Cruz?
Is it the mom? Yeah, it's Amanda Cruz. I mean, hold on.
Amanda Cruz, yeah.
Cruz, yeah. Who I've like noticed her since like the movie Sex Drive.
Yeah, Sex Drive. She's so funny in that movie.
You know, they thought Sex Drive was going to be the next American Pie. They really did. They were just like,
I still think that movie is so funny. I think it's underrated. Not enough people check that movie out.
It is, but I forget I think it was the same, like Lionsgate and somebody else did Twilight, I want to say. And it was the same company that had done like the fucking Twilight movie, had partnered with Lionsgate or whoever it was. Summit. That's exactly who it was.
Yeah.
So Summit really thought this was going to be fucking American Pie. They were just like, oh my God, we're going to put like $100 million behind this. Da, 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 da. You know, someone got fired over that movie. Like,
yeah,
but she's great in it, and she's also very good in like Silicon Valley and stuff too.
Yeah, she's in that. She's great in Final Destination 3. She's in that.
Oh, I don't even remember that. I didn't.
Yeah, she plays the younger sister of Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character.
Okay, interesting.
But she's good in that. So when she popped up, I was like, oh, that's the girl from this and that.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of not only American Pie, but also Final Destination, we're trying to work with this producer on a project potentially. Warren Zide, if you know who he is. He's produced like he was the main producer, one of the main producers on American Pie. So any American Pie movie that comes out, whether it be the shittiest straight-to-video, you know, Netflix, like what was the one on Netflix that came out? Like, you know, Nasty Girls, or I don't know.
Yeah, the old girls one.
Pie, like whatever it was with girls in the title. So he gets a producer credit for all that. He also gets a producer credit for any like Final Destination thing that comes out too. Oh, okay. So we're trying to figure out if we want to be involved with this project a friend of ours is writing, but he already has him on as a producer. So I'm like, hey, I don't know if you need us, but like he wants to get us on because we did such a good job with 1BR, but we'll see. I don't know. But point being that I didn't know she was in that movie, so that's good to know. I'll go back and watch that one. Is number 3 the one that they? Number 3 isn't the one they go to the amusement park, is it?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay. I think that was I can tell you, it's funny. Like I remember testing all of those movies, but I remember by the theater we tested it at and stuff. So I remember testing that one, but I didn't watch the movie, unfortunately. I mean, if you think about it, the Final Destination movies actually been pretty solid. All of them have been pretty solid and stuff. Like,
you love those, Connor, right? You're a huge fan of those.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, especially the last one. I thought was like a great like.
Is that the one on the bridge?
Yeah, and there's like a huge twist at the end where like. Spoiler. I'm not going to spoil it because not a lot of people have seen this one. But the twist at the end, you're just like, what the fuck?
Was it Tony Todd? Was Tony Todd in it? Oh, I forget.
Was he?
I'm trying to remember. Wasn't that the throwback? Or I forget. No, all of them have been very solid though.
Yeah.
That like it's sort of like I call it. You ever play the game Mousetrap when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Like one thing hits this thing, then that hits it, and that hits it over there. Like that's what fucking all the Final Destination movies are. Like that's essentially what it is. Like there's a guy, he's trying to stick his hand down the garbage disposal, and then something else kills him. Like,
right. Yeah. I'll say this anytime, and this doesn't happen often, but anytime I'm on the highway and I see anything like a truck carrying lumber.
Oh yeah, right.
Super. Like I got to get around that truck.
That's interesting because they actually created like a phobia for that for like driving behind a log truck. A new phobia was created from that movie. So there's now an official phobia of driving behind log trucks because of Final Destination 2.
That's really hilarious.
That's insane that a movie can actually cause a new phobia.
But it's such a great scene, you know what I mean? Like, they do such a great job of like piecing together like that beginning scene typically of the movie, and then everything goes from there. It's very formulaic, but still, I mean,
it works.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's one of those movies that it's all about the deaths. How can we raise the bar for killing these people in the most spectacular way possible? Well, there's 2 bimbos. Let's put them in the tanning beds, and then let's try to do something with that. Like, how does this happen? But it just does, But no, I love those films, and I didn't know she was in it, so I'll have to go back and take a look at that one again, I guess, for sure. But she's good in the movie is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Her part is sort of limited and stuff.
But her power was like by far my favorite because I was like, I kept like wondering like, what is the mom's power? Like she's like this big like threat to the normal people or whatever. And then when she finally gets out and then just like, you're like, oh, she can fly. It's not just flying. She like decimates everything around her as she launches. Like everybody just blows up into like puddles of blood.
Well, it's what you really think Superman would do in real life if he was around. And I thought that was very clever to kind of like to put that in there that she is that's sort of her power. Is she Superman? She can fly, yes, but I don't know that she has the strength necessarily. That girl, the little girl, seems to have all kinds of powers, right? She can like tell people. She can manipulate their thoughts. She can astrally project herself into different places and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. Is there any other power she has? Like I can't remember, but I don't know. Just the last shot of the movie when she's like, it's like what it is like the movie Looper. When the guy he's gonna be the big bad guy and this and that, like you kind of get the feeling that like she's like, if anyone else comes to fuck with us, I'm gonna fuck them up. What have we done here? Like we bred this poor girl and showed her dad getting killed and all this good stuff, and now what the fuck's she gonna become? I would love for them to pick up the story 10 years later or whatever and see what's happened to them. I think it'd be very interesting. But
it definitely does lend itself to more. And I didn't really think about that. You could totally there's totally a version of this where the next one is like, oh, she's actually a super villain. She's not a superhero. Like after all the shit she went through,
Yeah, I mean, it could be that way. Although, I mean, people want to see something heroic. I mean, it's hard to be the hero.
I mean, that's why it could work out as a series. You episode to episode her struggle with being like she did have violent tendencies towards the end of this movie. So like a series would so work out with seeing her struggle between being a hero or like what society is painting her as. It would be such a good series in my opinion. And I'm surprised Amazon or Netflix seems to just give.
Well, I think the only problem with Amazon is that they have I want to say a bunch of superhero shit that's sort of not, even besides Boys. It's like they have, what is that show with what's his face? He's like an old superhero. It's like, I think it's a Mark Millar.
That's coming out.
Yeah. So I think they have that. And have you guys seen Invincible?
Yeah? Right. That's the other thing.
I have not seen that yet.
Oh, that's fucking good. Like I didn't think I was going to be like that into it, but like, holy shit. Like that shit is good.
Yeah, I've heard terrific things about Invincible. I haven't given it a shot yet.
It's super violent, and you don't necessarily expect it, but just watch the first episode, and I'll tell you everything you need to know about the series.
I know Chris, who you just put up, is a huge fan of it. So
hey, Chris, what's up?
I have Chris and Alok's recommendation, so I'm gonna have to check that out. But I'm watching 4 different series right now simultaneously, so it's like I'll add a 5th, whatever.
Yeah.
I tell you, you might like it so much you'll just be like, I'm just gonna watch this whole fucking thing. Because that's what happened to me. I was like, I watched multiple things. I watched stuff with my wife. I watched like whatever, like on a Shutter I need to watch, and blah blah blah. And I started watching this, and after the first episode, I was like, oh yeah, it's right on, brother. You're totally right. I mean, it was a thing where I started watching it, and by the end of the episode, I was like, oh shit, this is fucking real, fucking violent, and so I started watching it, and like I finished it like next day. Like I watched like 4 episodes that night, and then I watched the other. I think it was 4 or 5, or I forget if it's 6 or 8 or 10. But I watched the whole fucking thing, like because I was just like, I want to see where this goes and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm rewatching X-Files because the fiance has never seen X-Files, so I threw that on, and now she's obsessed. So we're watching that. I'm rewatching Lost, rewatching Stranger Things, and I have to rewatch Game of Thrones because they released the images for the spinoff. So,
you're rewatching the whole show?
Yeah.
I watched The Sopranos over again.
Yeah, I need to start that. That's on my watch list.
Have you never seen The Sopranos?
I've never seen The Sopranos.
Oh my God! Stop everything you're watching and just fucking watch that. Like,
then I'm also watching Sons of Sam that got released on Netflix. So it's actually like 6 shows that I need to watch.
Yeah, I actually started watching that last night, and I fell asleep to it, and I woke up in the middle of the night. And it's like an episode 4, and I'm like, I didn't even see the second episode. I just gotta stop this. It's gonna spoil it for me. Why did I go to bed with this on? But I think it's only like 5 or 6 episodes altogether or something.
Yeah, I'll just breeze through it and watch that.
Oh, you gotta watch The Sopranos, though. I mean, come on. Have you seen The Sopranos, Taylor?
I have not seen a second of Sopranos.
Oh my God, what a treat! I'm serious. What a treat! Yeah. It's like never having watched Breaking Bad or something. And you're
maybe me and Taylor will watch Sopranos for the first time and do a Sopranos podcast.
Oh God,
where we just dress up as.
I would come on that all the time.
We'll just dress up as Sopranos characters and just do a podcast about
shout at each other.
It's really interesting to see that the only thing that is and everyone will tell you this, the only thing that sucks about it is sort of how it ends.
Yeah, I know the famous like cut to black.
Yeah, well, they have a prequel for it coming out.
The Sons of Newark or Saint of Newark.
I haven't heard very good things.
Oh no!
I just want to see. I want to watch Sopranos to watch that movie because Gandolfini's son is playing himself, just a younger version.
Yeah.
That's kind of special, so I want to watch it.
But what you're saying, Alok, is don't let that be the first Sopranos media I watch.
Yeah, no, I think you should watch the show, and then listen, I think it's coming out this summer or this fall.
Yeah,
so really, you should get started this summer, my friends. You guys have watched Breaking Bad too, right?
Oh
yeah.
Okay.
I've gotten that.
I'm gonna make sure there's not like a whole hole in like your TV knowledge that you need to fulfill. But Sopranos you're gonna have a good time with. Like it's so interesting. The characters are so great, and and it makes you hungry for Italian food all the time. I swear to God, I'm just like, I love watching them cook like the fucking sausages and peppers, and like I'm so hungry for that right now. I think I should have eaten before this. I can't talk about makes me hungry.
Look, we've seen Naomi Grossman prepare dinner on the show before, so you do what you got to do.
Oh no! I mean, I'm good enough to get through this, but talking about this stuff's making me think about what I should be eating like next, like tonight, like because I've been cooking my own meals as much as I should because I'm like, what's the point? It's just me, so. If I go out and get some food, it lasts for like 2-3 meals sometimes. Let's see.
Right.
Yeah. But
it's easier.
It really is kind of shocking that no service will pick up a series kind of based on like this booming subgenre that is so popular right now. It seems like any like service would, especially if they don't have a property like that, would be very eager to scoop something up like that. Especially
you never
Netflix
know.
has it, so why not pick up a series about it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the same thing we ask ourselves about 1BR. That's it, right? Because we don't want it to be a series. It just needs to be a movie.
Yeah.
But it's like a thing where, like, I mean, you know, we love Netflix as a partner, and we're like, hey, we'd love for you to take us all over the world. And they're like, yeah, we don't think it's going to play at Latin America. And we're like, we're number one in fucking, like, you know, we're in the top 3 in like all the countries in Latin America. Any place we came on, like, we were there. And so we're going to have another conversation to say, here, like, we've done this, you know?
They're too busy greenlighting irregulars and then canceling it after one season.
Well, I mean, listen, I think that they're very hit and miss with the shows they do, I'd say.
Yeah.
But when they hit,
the movies are usually
well, the movies are actually, like, I don't know, the horror stuff that they had, it hasn't been as on point. I mean, like, you know, if you think The Babysitter is like the best we can do, like, that's not, like, you know, and the first one's a good movie. Second one is really just okay. And it's like McGee, who I would say is like the poor man's Michael Bay. Like, and that's not giving him a compliment.
It's very true.
I mean, it's kind of true though.
For the longest time, I thought the A-Team was directed by Michael Bay.
Well, A-Team's actually a good movie. I like Joe Carnahan quite a lot, actually. I mean, did you guys see you guys see Boss Level?
I have not seen Boss Level yet. It's sitting on my watch next.
So watch that tonight. So good. Frank Grillo is like, I mean, it's really, I think finally they actually kind of found a perfect vehicle for him, because I think everyone like likes Frank Grillo, but they don't quite know what to do with him. So you get shit like Jiu-Jitsu, right? And which is a horrible movie, by the way. Like, just like, I mean, I want to love Nick Cage and being Nick Cage and stuff like that. But that's not good, and Frank Grillo's in it, and Tony Jaa is in it. Oh, we lost him. And you know, a bunch of, you know, good actors are in that movie, right? And fighting guys and whatever. Yeah, and it's just not good. But did you see Boss Level?
I've heard it. Like I like when you say it, I can kind of see what that is, but I have not watched it yet.
It's like Groundhog's Day, but for this assassin guy or whatever, and like it's good. You're gonna enjoy it. Like, you're gonna be like, okay, that was a solid hour and 40 minutes worth of my time that I could totally. I actually watched it twice because I thought it was so good. So I think it's worth your time.
Grillo's like it seems like he can't quite get to that, like, you know, big studio leading man action guy level quite. Like, they just can't get him there. But I think of Grillo as like kind of like a Charles Bronson type, where it's like, yeah, they're going to be, you know, smaller movies, limited release, but like when you show up to him, you know this dude's just going to fucking rock it. He's just going to give you like badass.
And with smaller movies, he sort of elevates it. Like, I mean, like Skylines or whatever, which is, you know, not a great film, but like I wanted to watch it because he was in it, you know. And then like you know, the Little Affair, like he gets, you know, parts in a Marvel movie, or he gets this and and you always know he's gonna, you know, kick someone's ass probably, right? And so,
or the Purge movies, he's good in those.
Which one? Oh, Purge. Yeah. You're right. I forgot about that. But he's I don't know. I wish he could have like one big hit and it could kind of put him over the top. He kind of reminds me of this guy Scott Adkins. You know him?
That sounds super familiar.
He's in all these like kind of straight to video movies, but he's in so many of them. He's been in like, I don't know, 150 movies or something. And he is like karate dude, handsome. Like, I think he was even in one of the Batman movies as like one of some assassin or something that Batman was fighting. The Christian Bale Batman movies, I want to say.
Yeah, it looks like okay, so he was in like Doctor Strange and like Jason Bourne and stuff. Okay, yeah. I see.
Yeah, I mean, he's like had this career where he should have been like that action star. They wanted him to be that action star, but he never got to be that action star. Right. And I feel like unless Frank Grillo gets like, I mean, you know, Boss Level was a good movie for him to sort of be the lead in and stuff, but it wasn't a theatrical film. In fact, I think, to be honest, I think it was supposed to be a theatrical film, but it got, because of time of COVID, they finally were like, we need our money back and fucking put it on Hulu, you know? But that could have been his big film, actually, to be honest, as far as a theatrical release. But, you know, I'm still fingers crossed for him to do something really cool. We'll see, you know.
He's always going to bring it. And I think, I thought I would be so tired of the like time loop thing by now, but like people are coming up with some really cool twists on it. Like I really dug the Happy Death Day movies.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they were better than they should be. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it was actually, the first one is better than the second one, But the second one's still pretty good. You know,
Yeah,
you're actually
fun.
like, all right.
Or like Palm Springs, I thought was. Did you see Palm Springs?
I love Palm Springs. I didn't think
Yeah.
it's worth. I didn't think it's worth $20 million, but like, you know. But actually, I mean, I should say that I have a friend who produced that film. I was like, "Hey, congratulations! Like, I can't believe we got $20 million for that movie." Like, no, we got $20.50 or something. They did whatever to do to break the record of a movie bought at Sundance by like 50 cents or something,
Yeah.
or whatever it was. He's like, I don't know, I made $20.50. And I was like, excellent work. But it was sad that didn't get any sort of it didn't get a theatrical release, right? Because of COVID, I want to say.
No, yeah, I think it went right to Hulu. I don't know. It might have popped up somewhere. Like it somehow made its way into like awards conversation still. But I know they like changed how kind of the restrictions worked based on this last year. Like nothing came out like it wanted to. But yeah, I think it got like Globe's attention. Connor will probably know. Like,
well, we were at like, I want to say Sundance. It was 2020 of January. And then like I was only there for 5 days and I had to fly to France for something for 1BR. And like when we were in France, we're like, that fucking movie's over $20 million. So we were like surprised. But it's a charming movie. And like I said, the whole time travel thing, the time loop thing rather, it actually does a good job of still being charming despite the sort of age-old sort of like, you know, thing that it's doing. Like it's definitely ripping off other things, but you'll like Boss Level. It's definitely legit. It's a legit good movie.
I'll have to give it a shot. I have to give it a shot because I like Grillo. But so how we even got here in the first place, like you had said, Connor, with I think because as we're talking about this, we're like coming up with these other examples of like, oh, like Invincible's a big thing right now. Like there's that new Mark Millar thing coming out. The Boys, like there totally is a demand for these sort of like alt superhero comic book things where it's like, you know, it's kind of like something, you know, but finding the hook for it. Sometimes the hook is like, oh, we go super adult or like we go super campy. Like you find the hook on it. I feel like there's totally that potential here. This movie in general to me feels like these dudes like calling their shot in a big way. Like whether it's getting more of this made, like it totally lends itself to a Freaks 2, or I guess, yeah, a Freaks series could be. But like it also feels like, okay, these are two guys. Like somebody's gonna have, you know, like with Adam Wingard, it's like we got a Thundercats movie. You want to make it like I watched this and I was like, somebody's gonna see this and go, okay, we want somebody to be able to direct this thing we're making. Like these are two guys that I think are gonna get asked to do.
Well, they got to do like some sort of Kim Possible movie.
Yeah, they did the Kim Possible live action movie.
Yeah, so they got to do something that's not exactly, but like, you know, something that's sort of like high concept and whatever. And so. No, I suspect that they'll do some good stuff, even if it's not this. But God damn it, like people would like to see a sequel for this. Like, I mean, I can tell you this: if Netflix gave them like, you know, $10 million, $5 or $10 million, this thing would be fucking number one, or it would be like in their top 10 for probably like, I don't know, 10 or 15 days.
Yeah.
Which for them, that was worth it. And people would probably, you know, there's enough goodwill for the first one that people would talk about this coming out, and they would, you know, have a good amount of like press and publicity, more than they normally do for their other stuff. And people would probably buy subscriptions because that's what the whole thing is about, is kind of funding subscriptions and stuff like that. I mean, if it was good, if it was a piece of shit, then what are you gonna do? But you know,
gave Skyline like 3 sequels.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, Frank.
Oh, God damn it!
Just that it came up. It's funny that Skyline would come up 2 times in like a 5-minute span.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the first one was like, it was just impressive. They were able to shoot that in their apartment in fucking Marina Del Rey. But these guys, I mean, they own a VFX company. The directors, the Strauss, whatever, and
yeah,
their names. You know, they had some decent actors, but the movie itself was not very good. The second one becomes more of an action movie in a certain way, and Frank Grillo, who doesn't want to see him kick some ass, and so it became something else. So there's something there. As long as Frank Grillo hopefully is in the rest of them, then it'll be good. But who knows? I don't think those guys that directed are necessarily very. I shouldn't say it, but talented in so much as that Alien versus Predator 2, which is such a piece of shit. Like, I was like, don't give them anything else. And they were like, well, Hollywood won't give us any more movies. We'll make our own movies, which, is admirable, but, like, still doesn't help you if you don't have that much talent, sadly.
That's how it goes these days, right? Like, you make the little thing, and then the studios start calling. Like, I can't remember the first name. It's like Moorhead, Benson and Moorhead. They did like the Endless, and they just did like Synchronic, and now they're doing a freaking Marvel show. It's like,
what'd you guys think of Synchronic?
I still haven't seen it. Have you?
I haven't seen it. It's on Netflix. Gotta watch it.
I wanted to like it. So here's the thing. I think that these guys have a consistent record of like setting up a great concept and then just not delivering on it, especially at the end. I thought the same thing about Endless. I fucking saw Endless in a goddamn theater. They got me to go out, fucking pay my money to see it at the goddamn Laemmle in Santa Monica. And I walked in there and it had such a high like Rotten Tomatoes score as well. Like it's in the 90s. Like it's like 95 or 97 or whatever it is. But I was like, it's such a good setup. And then it just does not end very interestingly. It doesn't go. There's not the real payoff. With a better ending, they really could have had something completely classic. Yeah. But instead, they had this sort of like kind of thing for me. That's what I thought. I thought the same thing of Synchronic, to be honest. I really wanted to like it. And I just see it all over the world. It's doing well, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, is it doing well because it has like, Jamie Dornan or whatever his name is from like, the Tie Me Up shit, the 50 Shades or, it has Anthony
Mackie.
And, Anthony Mackie, goddamn Falcon. And, I was like, I feel like it could have been better, but I didn't hate it. Let's put it that way. I liked it. Would I recommend it? Maybe, if you have nothing to do, watch it. That's what I would say.
Sure.
But I wasn't over the moon. But it's interesting to see, like you said, their careers have gone to like doing that the Moon Knight or whatever it is kind of stuff, right? So I'll be honest though, for most of the Marvel stuff, I've been pretty underwhelmed as far as the television stuff, right? I thought WandaVision was just a piece of shit. Like
really?
Well, it's like the fucking 3 episodes could have been the 1 episode, right? The first 3 episodes, I'm just like, okay. So by the time you're already frustrated with that, then you get the stuff that you're starting to reveal stuff. And you're like, I could see this coming from a million miles away. Like, who cares? And then it just ends like I thought there was going to be some big ending. Like I heard Doctor Strange was supposed to be in it or Mr. Fantastic or something, or, and then there's none of it. There's none of it. And so I'm like, fuck this. Fuck WandaVision. And then I saw like the what's it called, the Falcon versus the Winter Soldier.
You got it.
And I was like, the first 3 episodes are very average and just okay. I like the chase sequences, the effects. Yeah, that's cool, but it finishes strong, which is why I didn't hate it. Like I like the last 3 episodes are good, but the overall problem with the series is that they don't have that impressive a bad guy. Like this chick with the fucking freckles, I'm supposed to be scared of her. Like, I mean, like, I don't give a shit. Like, I wanted the Baron Zemo or whatever. I wish it was just him as the bad guy because he's funny, he's hilarious, he is like an equal in terms of like whatever's happened to him. Like you feel like it's sort of a deeper. I mean, it wasn't that good in the actual Ultron thing, but he was good in Winter Soldier. I want to say. Oh no, hold on, he was in Winter Soldier. He wasn't in.
He's in Civil War.
So the second one, he's in the second one. It's a flashback because his family gets killed. That's what it is. Okay, sorry. Because of the stuff that happens in the second one. That's what it is. But he's a great bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, have him as the fucking bad guy. This chick with the fucking freckles, like, I don't give a shit. Whatever. It's just, you need a good bad guy. And I hope that, like, I have high hopes for their Moon Knight thing because, like, I love Ethan Hawke. I could, like, Brightburn. Brightburn was it was an ambitious miss, is what I would say about Brightburn. Like I wanted to like it. I thought they did some good kills in there and stuff when they take that guy's job. Whatever. Like that's cool.
Yeah, it was brutal. I remember that.
But it was a very ambitious miss, and I think the problem with it was I think we thought like James Gunn was almost directing it, and he was just, I think, producing it, right?
Producing, yeah. They hyped up the James Gunn aspect of it. And
it made me want to see it, but I think that
yeah,
I didn't actually watch it until it got onto like, I don't know, Stars or something. I want to say.
I watched it when it hit streaming.
I was very pleased to see it on Stars for like as part of my subscription. Just as I was very pleased to see, I don't know, Fantasy Island and Bloodshot and Bloodshot. Like I'm like, yeah, that's what I pay for Stars for. And Stars is like so cheap now. They're just like, it's like, please keep us. Don't, because I was setting up to like delete it, and they were like, oh, what about for like $2.99? You can have us for 6 months, and I was like, that sounds like a great deal.
Yeah, I get it for like $4.99 through like a Apple TV bundle.
Yeah, I mean, well, they literally were like, okay, it's like $2.99 or something. Maybe it's $4.99 for 6 months. You get it for not that price per month. You get it just for 6 months for $5, and I was like, all right, I'll keep you for another like whatever. Because their main sort of feeder was like Universal and Sony, and no one's putting out any new movies. So like all the shit they have is just okay. We're gonna put parts of our library out there because we hold stuff back and bring it back and take it out and bring it back, right? That's all they're doing right now. Like it's like there's nothing new that's coming out, and I don't give a fuck about like Power and these like the men with kilts and goddamn Outlander. I don't give a shit about that stuff. My wife likes Outlander, though. I'll say that.
Jessica loves Outlander, and
that's another reason I wanted to cancel it, so she can't see that hunky Irish son of a bitch. Like, what's under the kilt? I bet you want to know, don't you, woman? Like, you watch her watching Outlander, and you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna marry you.
Borderline pornographic.
It's like lady porn, right? Like, I mean, that's what that shit is. You know what the ultimate lady porn movie is?
By all means, let me know.
It's My Big Fat Greek Wedding. That fucking movie, right? That fucking movie. It's so much money, right? And it's because it's like fucking a fantasy. Like the super hot guy, he's gonna get with this big girl, and yeah, that's just gonna happen. And like, this is a fantasy. Like, I just believe it. It can happen. It can happen to her. It can happen to me. Like, whatever. I'm going on a bad tangent. I hate that movie because we were hearing all about this, and we went and saw it on Thanksgiving. And I came back after like watching that movie, being like, it's just okay. I don't understand how this made like $160 million thus far. And then I came back, and then I got a call that my grandfather died, and so I hated that movie even more.
You're always associated.
He was like 95, grant you that, so it wasn't that bad. But it's just like you have an association. Sometimes you're just like, fuck that movie, that lady porn movie.
We all want Joey Fatone to be at our wedding. It's the ultimate fantasy.
I mean, right? Like he was just like, I'm looking smart for taking points on that movie.
Yeah. I don't see who else is in that? Lance Bass. I don't see him showing up in any sequels down the road, right? I don't think so.
He gets to be in like Zoolander, like he's part of the crowd, like I think that's what it was. Is his claim to fame in movies.
Alok, one of the first movies you ever recommended on the show was, and we finally got to see it a few months ago, Saint Maud. Holy shit! Yeah. Lived up to the hype that you created for it. That movie ruled.
I'm glad you liked it. It's I was kind of weirded out where it actually ended up in terms of the Epix channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, Epix is like such a piece of shit channel. Like, I mean, there's really nothing on that channel. And then they put Saint Maud on it. I'm like, I'm going to fucking get goddamn Epix. Like, and I did for like, I don't know, for like a trial or something. And I made my wife watch Saint Maud. She hadn't seen it. But I was like, right after it was over, they're like, hey, do you want to renew? I'm like, fuck no. What do I want? Fucking like, Batman's fucking butler fucking show. Like, what am I watching here?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I have this like weird running conspiracy where I think no one has watched that. Like that show just somehow exists in like a weird void. It's like there's a show about Alfred, and I've never seen that.
It may be the only show that anyone's watching because they just talked like 2 days ago, yesterday. I want to say that they were talking about like moving it over to HBO now.
What?
like somehow because they were going to cancel it. Now they're going to move it up to HBO. So clearly, it has some value because someone's watching it.
Who has seen it?
I have. I mean, again, I didn't even watch it the week that I had fucking Epics for free because I just didn't give a shit about Batman's fucking butler. You know,
Acetone Night with the girlies mod. What's going on, Davis? Thanks for watching.
I mean, take some drugs and watch that movie and see what happens next.
The final shot just had fucked me up beyond belief. I was like, oh, okay.
It's a super slow burn, that movie. I mean, literally a burn, and then it comes down to that last shot. You're like, oh wow, okay, that's fucking got real. Like, you know,
I sat in silence for 20 minutes after it ended, just
yeah. My wife was very upset after it ended, and I was just like, you want some ice cream? I got keto ice cream because I can't eat real ice cream anymore because of fucking diabetes. But we'll have keto ice cream. You know, anyway, so
I love because it's one of those movies where I'm like, seriously, in the last 30 seconds, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it's going to be one of those ambiguous things where they're not going to say what she was experiencing legit or what. I was like, all right, I get that's cool. I like those kinds of movies. And then the last 2 seconds, I was like, oh, nope, they confirmed it.
Shit just got real, and not only that, but her just walking around with his tacks in her shoes and shit, yeah. Anyway, it's I just got this email. It's very distressing. I won't even talk about it. It's just we're trying to cast this movie, right? And we're talking about certain people in it, and I was like, well, this guy isn't the. All right, I'll talk to you offline about it. Sorry, I shouldn't. It's a bad decision. These are bad decisions being made right now. Yeah. Over the influence of Fin du Mont.
Yeah, don't let us put you in that.
I'll talk to you later about it. But anyway, going back to Freaks.
Yeah.
Freaks should be a series or it should be another movie. And you can easily make another movie, I think, for less money than you have to invest into doing a series. And it should be done for sure because I think that there is enough stuff there. I mean, let's look at goddamn Emile Hirsch's career. Right. Where he has gone from being this guy who, I mean, kind of did this thing where he would do all these movies and not after The Girl Next Door, I think was sort of his vicious sort of start. And I fucking hate that movie because it was so they believed in that movie so much. And it's not a bad movie, by the way.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, I hate it because of the testing process that we had to do where they were like, all right, let's test this movie in Thousand Oaks right during finals when the kids are going through finals. And I'm like, what in this super white collar area, rich area? Thousand Oaks is like Calabasas. You see the Kardashians live here and and Thousand Oaks is kind of a similar sort of thing. It's very Caucasian. Yeah, I'd say that you're right. Speed Racer is unrated. It's very it's what they thought the rest of the country was represented by. So it was 70% Caucasian and 30% everybody else. And so they would always go over here to this place, Thousand Oaks, to test movies. And a lot of the studio execs live up in that area too, frankly. So that's the other reason we'd go there all the time. We were there 3 nights a week or something. So they're trying to test this fucking movie during finals for these kids at the fucking high schools, right? And we're like, who's gonna fucking fail their exams for your goddamn movie? I mean, what do you want from us? You test it next fucking week when they're out of school. I mean, I can't, I know it has to be done now. But then you better pay these kids 4 fucking free movie tickets to come fucking see your movie because it's not going to happen otherwise. And I could have people out there all day, but it's not going to happen. And we were, you were doing online, fucking recruiting too. But this is so long back in the day before the online recruiting. But you had to do both. But you definitely do it in person, and you'd go to schools and everything and try to recruit kids to come see a goddamn movie that they've never heard about. They don't know who any of these people are. They're just this hot porn star girl on a poster. And then the fucking teachers are like, what are you advertising to our kids here? We're like,
yeah,
I don't even know what to tell you. This is a movie about a kid lives next door to a porn star. I mean, it's what do you do? So that's my first interaction with Emile Hirsch, where I was like, god damn it. This isn't helping anybody. So he does that sort of first. And then he starts like kind of getting like all these roles, like I don't know, like what is it, Lords of Dogtown?
Yeah, and Into the Wild, which was like my first like indie movie that I absolutely loved, and like I watched it religiously. I was like, Into the Wild is the best movie ever.
That's the first one I think of when I think of Emile Hirsch. Yeah.
The other one that he does that is kind of considered, it was definitely a box office failure, but still actually a very interesting movie, I think, was Alpha Dog.
Alpha Dog is really good.
I mean, there's a sense of creeping dread in that movie, and everyone in it, whether it be like Ben Foster playing a psychopath or
Justin Timberlake, who plays a piece of shit so well in that movie.
Well, that was like the first movie I thought he could actually act in.
Yeah,
and I was like, all right, maybe there's something here. All right, like I see you, Mark Wahlberg from Boogie Nights. I see you. Like that was that was his Boogie Nights of sorts. But Emile Hirsch kind of plays. It's not a great performance from him, but it's sort of he's interesting amongst the other people that are interesting.
Yeah.
I want to say, but it doesn't do very well. Lords of Dogtown doesn't do very well as well. Into the Wild kind of puts him back up onto things, and Speed Racer is like his shot. Like that's his fucking shot at like breaking through and being whatever. And I think that while interesting, that movie is sort of a beautiful mess, I'll call it. It's like just like Wachowski sisters, I want to say now, right? Can't call them brothers, right? Like, like masturbating like all over the screen. Like, you think this is crazy? This is really gonna make you sick over here. Let's try this.
Right. It's them saying you made the Matrix trilogy. Like, tell us how much to sign the check for and go do what you want to do.
Yeah, and what was funny about that movie was that so they would do these things at Warner Brothers, where they would do like friends and family screenings that we would still run and do like a focus group for, and like we'd also like do all the cards for and test it and for that. And I don't know which Wachowski sister invited some jackass who decided just to talk about it and not talk about it in a positive way. Like goes on to like Ain't It Cool News or something when that was relevant, let's say, and writes a review. And we're like, you're their friends. Like you got invited because you're friends and family, and you are fucking these people. Like we had to like hunt them down and like threaten Ain't It Cool, and like we always figured out who they were, because I was like a detective when it came down to it, because like they had to sign a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, thinking about people who do reviews is like they're like serial killers. Like they like to like come back to the scene of the crime and like be part of the crowd that's like watching the murder like unfold, like the sort of like the dead bodies being like marked off and stuff. They're always like and
the detective always looks at them and they're like,
they're also pleased with their handiwork. And it's like this. It's a thing where you read their card, their review card, and they're gonna put shit from that review card into the goddamn review from Ain't It Cool, right? So here's two things. Now I have your handwriting. The card doesn't have a name on it. It's anonymous, right? But I have two other pieces of paperwork that you filled out. One's an NDA, and the other one is like this kind of data card thing. It's another excuse to get your handwriting, frankly. And so now I have like two things that match your actual ID, who you are, to your goddamn handwriting, to your goddamn review, right? So I'd be like, hey, Ain't It Cool? This guy, Scott Peterson, yeah, he wrote this fucking review. He calls himself this, that, the other, because they use the same fucking email address or whatever it is, or they have something in their email address, usually is in their handle for who they're calling themselves on the Ain't It Cool review. It's stupid, but they do it. Like, I mean, whatever. It's like I'm giving away gems here. I know how to get away with like writing a review, but they do this shit, and we'd always call them out on it, and then Ain't It Cool would have to take it down. Because they're like, they signed an NDA, and not only are we going to sue them, we're going to have the studio's going to come sue you too, Harry Knowles. And he's like, fuck you. my biggest joy was when I got Ain't It Cool to write a review for our movie. He didn't know who the fuck I was.
It was you. You were the killer returning to the scene of the crime, and you were saying like,
well, I was the guy that
I did.
I wanted the review from Ain't It Cool just because of that. I was just like, but they gave us a very positive review. And he doesn't, Harry Knowles actually is not very associated with the site because they're still kind of the Me Too thing hasn't, like, the stink of it hasn't left him, frankly.
Right.
So like this nice young lady, the Barbarella, I forget her name, but she wrote a very nice review for us and stuff like that. But I was very happy to get it. I was wondering if she was going to remember who I was somehow, but they didn't at all. That was okay.
Got her.
These are terrible stories. Yeah. These nuts.
This is it. I feel like once again we got there where Alok probably said something he didn't need to, but
I love you. What, am I going to take my review down from the site no one goes to anymore?
Take backsies.
The one thing I probably shouldn't have said is maybe how I caught people for like the reviews and stuff like that. But I don't work there anymore. I don't work in that industry anymore. So, that's what it is. Who knows? And to be honest with you, all the sites are so tied into like the studios now that it's so rare that they'll ever go against them. And they try to do shit now where they're like, "Oh, look who's tweeting about this test screening in Arizona of Thor Part 3." And they're like,
"Yeah,
we didn't do it. It was on Twitter." Right. That's how they try to get away with it now. But if a studio comes to them and asks them, like, "Hey, Slash Film, take this shit down," they know where their bread's buttered. That shit is off in like fucking prom dress. Like, it comes off so quick. It's not even funny. Yeah. But going back to Emile Hirsch and that Speed Racer, I mean, it was a beautiful mess. He gets to do like more sophisticated stuff like Milk. Darkest Hour is another sort of like attempt to sort of like become the leading man. Failed kind of sadly.
Killer Joe.
Well, Killer Joe, like, I mean, it's like, gotta work with Friedkin, right? Who's not gonna work with Friedkin?
And Matthew McConaughey, and that movie is dark, twisted, and brilliant.
Yeah, I actually remember testing that, and like, I mean, Gina Gershon is in it, right? And I mean, an interesting film.
NC-17, one of the rare like NC-17 movies that gets released now.
Well, I mean, only somebody like fucking Friedkin could just tell people to go fuck themselves, and the reason is because they'd be like from the director of The Exorcist, and they're like, everyone is like jumps to. Savage is a very sort of forgettable role, I would say.
Oh yeah, he is in that, and he plays like the guy that like hooks him up with all the money and the fake passports and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, A Lone Survivor. It's a decent movie, but not he's whatever it is. But Autopsy of Jane Doe. Now this film so fucking good.
I forgot he's in that. That movie's so good.
I mean, a really perfect movie and a nice launch to like sort of like that guy's sort of American career of sorts. Or let me forget his name. It's the O with an X through it, whatever, and a mark through it, whatever that means.
Oh yeah, because then he went on to do Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yeah, I mean, we started off like a Troll Hunter, I want to say, which is a cool movie for what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just like sort of American debut, smaller film, but like such a perfect, great little film. Also on Netflix, actually, by the way.
Yeah, and the bell motif is just brilliant. That anytime I hear a bell now, I just think about that movie, and I'm like, oh my god. Yeah. Oh god, the witch is coming for me.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, it's like a thing where like he's kind of producing movies too. I've heard as well. Like that's a whole different thing. Yeah, I think so. Like he is. And granted, I think it's stuff where it's what's the guy's name? He does all these movies with like Bruce Willis that are like Emmett Furla. I want to say
like the Grindstone films or whatever.
Yeah, it's like Bruce Willis is like shooting this movie. He's in it for 3 to 5 days, and we literally like because I got for what we're doing right now. We got offered a thing where they're like, "Well, we can get you like Samuel Jackson for like a week," and I'm like 7 days, like no, like 5 days, and then I'm like, "What are we doing here? Like, what kind of movie would you make with that? Like,
the next Saw."
I mean, I don't know, but I mean, it's a thing where you can get people like that for like. So what they do with like Bruce Willis, for example, like you see all these movies in like Breach, which is like one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. I mean, literally, like the effects coming from the gun are just animated. I mean, it's so bad.
Yeah,
I watched this on a plane, and I watched that, and I watched The Craft Legacy, which was also such a piece of shit as well. And then I watched like A Promising Young Woman. And mind you, all of this is on my phone. Or no, it was on my computer. And I was like, I watched two of the worst movies I've seen, like in recent recollection. And then I watched a Promising Young Woman, which was fantastic. Like I thought, I was like, all right, well, I mean, too bad, one great. Like, okay, I wish I had seen it like last year, so I could have put it on my like top 50 list. It came out like December 25th and stuff, you know, so it was tougher to like kind of formulate that and get to the point where I wanted to pay $20 for it, let's say. I mean, it's weird because I pay like, well, I got do you have AMC's around there, AMC stubs or whatever, right? So I paid for that. I can see 3 movies a week, right? And like I was like, I can't justify paying $20 for one movie.
Right.
And I did it for Freaky, so I could say that I had seen it, and I liked it quite a lot, to be honest.
Freaky was
I love Freaky.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good movie.
I ventured out to the like little independent theater right down the road to see Freaky because that's one I really wanted to see in the theaters because
we
I was not disappointed.
We had nothing open. I mean, in fact, the theater's only been open for, I want to say, a month now.
See, all theaters are closed down. I mean, I think the independent theater is like the only theater in like a 20-mile radius that is still open.
What state are you guys in again?
Ohio.
Ohio, everything is closed theater-wise?
No, the Cinemarks are open because Jess and I went. We saw Nobody a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
What did you think of that?
I thought it was fun. Nobody. I mean, it's quite literally like John Wick, but Odenkirk. Like same setup. Like, oh, he gets into trouble. He fucks up the wrong person. He's related to
RZA shows up.
RZA and Christopher Lloyd are kicking. I don't know. I thought it was fun. I thought Odenkirk killed it. Like never who I would have expected to put in that movie. And he was great.
I thought it was good, but not great. And I thought it was like, I mean, listen, I'll be honest. Like I'm by myself. I took an edible and I went and fucking saw that movie. And I was just like, when is this going to kick in? Because this movie is just okay. And then when it kicked in, I was like, all right, it's better. And then I was like, I'm falling asleep. And I'm like, I got to eat something. So
here's why this movie is 4.5 stars for me. And we're talking about Nobody. When Odenkirk says, my little nobody, I lost it.
Did you say it to the kitten?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
he's gonna. I would never have tapped him as like a revenge action movie lead guy, and he totally owns it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I saw just recently that I just was like so over the moon about, and I was so vocal in the theater and stuff with that, and I just like, I mean, I just had some beers and I watched it, but like, was goddamn Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim, like it's like 10th anniversary for it. Yeah. Like all the AMC's have like playing like this whole week, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a chance to go see that with an audience, holy shit, just go. I might go see it again, frankly, because I get 3 movies a week, and I only seen one. So I mean, I got some time, but I want to see like the
Wrath of Man.
The Guy Ritchie movie. I love Guy Ritchie.
Me too.
So yeah.
I'm one of those rare Guy Ritchie fans. I love The Gentleman. I thought that was great.
That was a fine return to form for him.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen, like, I paid it one time when I was in England one time working. I paid there's a place called Leicester Square, which is sort of like their Chinese sort of like, that's like the area that there's like huge movie theaters in this one area and stuff, and they have all the premieres at this Leicester Square theater. If it's a Harry Potter premiere, or whatever, you'll have it at this fucking theater, right? And this huge theater they have, it was like £22.50 at the time. It was double the dollar. It's $22.50 to see it. That's what they pay, and I was like, I'm paying like fucking $44 fucking dollars for this goddamn movie. And it was this movie that he had done called Revolver. It's such a piece of shit, that movie. And I was like, there's like 4 people in the theater, seeing the very first showing of it. I'm like, I just turned to them on, this is a piece of shit. Like, they're like, yeah, it is. I'm like, God damn, this is so bad. And I that was the most, I put it on my wall at the point. I was like, this is the most I've ever paid for a movie, in terms of in the theater. Like, this is what it is. And I paid for the shittiest movie I could see. So Guy Ritchie goddamn owes me. And I thought that, like, I mean, listen, it's interesting with his career, actually, if you think about it. Like, he's gone back and forth between, like, really being brilliant and being sort of like, but never making a bad movie until that fucking Revolver movie, I thought. And he did a Madonna movie when he was married to her, like, you know, it's a remake. It's like they're trapped castaways or whatever or something. He just directed it because he was married to Madonna at the time. It's a piece of shit. But Revolver, I think, is worse in some ways. So he owes me, and I think he's kind of made it return to form. Like Gentlemen, I thought was fantastic for what it was. I was really happy I saw them in the theater, and everyone, like, you know, whether it's Hugh Grant playing this cheesy character or whatever.
Yeah.
And the reviews seem to be good for this movie. So
I've heard it rocks. I have somebody who got to see it already, and he had nothing but the best things to say about it. He got me hyped for it.
All right.
Yeah,
well, you're making me
going.
want to see this tonight, maybe.
He got me, like, I was like, oh yeah, it's Jason Statham, Guy Ritchie. He's gonna shoot some guys and say some stuff. Like, I was like, all right, maybe I'll see that eventually. But he told me it fucking rocks. So
yeah, my next day off, I'll probably see that because I'm always hyped for like a Guy Ritchie, Jason Statham movie.
Well, they are a good duo. You know, I don't even think you guys were born when Lock, Stock, and Barrel came out, probably.
What year was that? That was like what, 98?
When I was in college, like, so I think like 90 something, like
98. Yeah, 98.
98.
Is it 98?
I'm good at release dates, man.
I was alive.
Well, hold on.
Yeah, I was alive.
Oh, God, I thought it was in. I'm thinking of The Commitments, actually. Sorry. All right, totally different movie. I saw Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels 3 times in the goddamn theater, right? And then the next movie comes out with this Snatch. And Snatch is only released in 2 theaters in L.A. and New York because they're hoping there may be some weird Oscar consideration for some reason.
Probably Brad Pitt.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's what they thought. But I end up seeing that movie like 3 days in a row. I sing, and by third time, and I can tell you now, I can tell you everything Brad Pitt is saying in that movie. I can tell you. You give me a line, you're like, what are they? You know, my mother's partial to Periwinkle Blue, and you know, I can tell you every single line. I've watched it so many times, but a little flawed, but a great film nonetheless. I would tell you that film as well. We keep on going off on the different tangents when we're trying to talk about Emile Hirsch.
Yeah, this is all I expected to happen. So
I know we
warned
everybody before the show even started. We're gonna go off the rails. We've gone off the rails, but
well, I mean, Emile Hirsch, who also shows up in like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's right.
Yeah, again, no good reason necessarily, but you know, who cares? Like, you're not gonna say no to Tarantino, right? It's just what it is.
Yeah, he shows up in that because everybody shows up in that, right?
And I think
I've told you my Tarantino thing, haven't I?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, the last episode he was on, he told us
the Bonnie situation or whatever. I think I told you. I dated the girl who's like Bonnie in the Bonnie situation, and
yeah. I think maybe did they come up during the Twilight thing?
It might have came up.
It probably did because we were talking about all kinds of nonsense during that shit. Like, it was like just drunk shit going on. Like, I literally sat there for 3 hours and drank with you. Sorry, at least 2 movies, if not 3. Yeah. And we're just drinking the whole time, which is at a certain point.
Like, this is a messiness level. Hour time, like it's.
Yeah, that was classic. But that lady was so lovely. Who was the makeup?
Christina,
yeah, she was so cool.
She was amazing. No, that's still the benchmark for like, well, I never expected I would have done anything like that before. You know, like in terms of what we've done on this channel, like that was a fucking blast. Like I've never
is anything coming out this like summer that's like sequel amazing that you'd be like, all right, listen, we need to like see, like, I mean,
like
maybe
do a marathon thing.
Maybe it's The Matrix.
Oh
yeah.
When does that come out actually though?
That comes out December, I think.
December.
Oh, is it December now? I thought it was the summer. Here's a funny thing about that. Where's the fucking trailer?
What is it going to be? What is this movie?
Why the fuck haven't we seen anything from it? It's sort of making me distressed that, like, you know, and we only get one Wachowski sister this time. Like, not even both Wachowski sisters want to do this.
Yeah, it was going to come out May 21st, which was my birthday. I was going to get 2 I was going to get 2 Keanu Reeves movies on my birthday this year, and it was going to be John Wick 4 and Matrix 4. And I was like, hell yes, my birthday's going to rule. And then it all got pushed back, and now Matrix 4 is December 22nd of this year.
Okay. Well, I mean,
bless you. Bless you.
I'm double vaccinated. It's not the COVID. No, it's interesting that they put it there. So that means they have faith in it. I'm surprised they don't back it up a little bit because there's like such lack of shit coming out. Maybe they think the theater's gonna be like completely open and stuff like that. Did you see that Marvel video that had like all the shit's coming out or whatever? Frankly, it was very touching because Stan Lee, right? Of course, and like it kind of made me cry a little bit almost. I'll be honest, but like the Marvel stuff is so stacked up that they're giving us like 3-4 movies a year, I feel, at this point going forward and stuff. Yeah. Like, it's nuts. And so the fact that that's coming out then, the new Matrix movie, makes me have faith that maybe it could be something interesting. And maybe they're looking to sort of like, because usually it's a year before that they kind of show you something from it. And the fact they haven't showed us anything is interesting.
Well, they didn't show any more. They haven't been showing trailers for the HBO Max like theater hybrid movies until like 2 months before.
You know, if they were really smart, they would just stop with this fucking HBO Max bullshit. I mean, I don't mind watching it at home if it's a piece of shit like Mortal Kombat was. Right?
It didn't hurt Godzilla versus Kong.
I mean, it didn't, but it's like that's the kind of movie you want to see in theater. And frankly,
I did see it in theaters the first time, and the theater was sold out. I got the last 2 tickets, and even though they're spacing it out every other seat, it was sold out.
Is it every other seat there? Because I mean, for here, it's like 1/3, and it's like it's so spread out that like things sell out like that. Like I wanted to go see Back to the Future or some shit, and it's like that's fucking been gone for like every theater around here is gone, so you can't even see that fucking movie, for example, because it's 1/3. But what was I trying to say? Matrix. I'm intrigued. No, this is what it was specifically. I wish that that Warner Brothers had never done the thing where they said, "Oh, everything's just coming to fucking this goddamn platform," because I think it really is really hurting the theaters quite a lot. There's no reason. Like we had like one of our favorite theater chains that went down because of this, and who knows even if they were operating at any sort of profitability, frankly, because like this is like this was the best. I haven't been to Korea. I heard they have like this one amazing theater chain there that just like kills everything, but the ArcLight theater chain in Hollywood, as well as like a lot of places, like went under. And it also was attached to Pacific Theaters, which I have one of the most tested horror movie theaters in the world. This is where you test your horror movie. It's called the Pacific Winnetka. It's gone. The Pacific Northridge. Test all mainstream shit there. Gone. The ArcLight in Sherman Oaks. The ArcLight in Hollywood. The ArcLight in goddamn Pasadena. The ArcLight in Beach Cities. All these theaters. And the ArcLight theaters are like the creme de la creme of all the theaters. Because they have, in Hollywood, for example, have you guys ever been in that one ever in your life?
No, never been to Hollywood.
No, yeah. I've not been to the West Coast since I was.
I'm telling you, guys have a place to stay if you want to come.
I really want to. I really want to.
We have a big enough house, and we got one at a time. You have to come one at a time. Like you can't. Yeah. Both of you come. It's a party.
You got bunk beds, right?
I mean, if you want to come now, you can, because there's the baby's room and there's the guest room, and you can.
I'm calling out for the next week. I'll be there about...
Do it. Like, I'm here, baby. I'll take you to tacos. I'll take you to the best tacos you've ever had in your life. Like, in your life. You will never experience these kinds of tacos. But the ArcLight I can't take you to. And the ArcLight in Hollywood was part of the Cinerama Dome, right? And this is a historic theater. And then inside, they have the front of the screen. The front row is 30 feet from the fucking screen, right? The front row. So there's not a bad seat in any of those houses. There wasn't, because it's in the past now. But they also had this amazing caramel corn that they would make from scratch every day. That was just like, this is magical in my mouth. Like I can't. And then they also had amazing beers. Like they had like Chimay, like Duvel, all these Belgian beers, also full bar, fucking awesome. You think the Alamo Draft House is good? This place was better.
Yeah.
Food wise, they had these chicken tenders. Like I had to eat this theater all the time because we do so many press screenings and stuff like that. And I knew that menu back to front, and there was always something I wanted to eat on that menu. Like it was delicious. Like I mean, like tuna tartare, like nacho. I mean, just fancy fucking shit, and also just the best viewing experience of your life. I went and saw 2001: Space Odyssey there, and something was fucking up on the screen, and just it fucked up for like 5 minutes. 10 minutes, and we walked out and we're like, what's going on with your screen? They're like, here's some free tickets right now. It's going to be fucking solved. And we're like, oh, okay. I didn't want the free. Oh, I'll take them. But it's expensive to go see a movie there. It was. Anyway, it was very heartbreaking that we've lost some of these theaters, especially in the horror movie sense. The Pacific Winnetka was a theater they went to test every fucking horror movie. Wes Craven. Fucking, Darren Boozman, let's call it, whoever it was, the Saw franchise, whatever the big horror movie was that you wanted to test, you'd always go to this theater because it gave you the perfect percentage of horror movie audience goers that normally go see these movies. So you had a perfect concentration of African American, Latino, Asian, and then everybody else, the white people, and everybody else. But it was an amazing theater. Like it was like if you could survive the Winnetka, then you would be like, hey, you're going to fucking do well. Or if you had something super violent, like 300 we tested there the first time, and it tested so well, Warner Brothers was like, holy fuck, how is this the case? Let's test it again next week. And they tested again the next week, and it did even better. And they were like, we're going to make so much money! So, anyway.
You think somebody might come along and, like, pick those theaters up and, like,
well,
dust them up?
They're hoping the Alamo Draft House does it.
They're Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino can pony up some cash.
Tarantino is smart enough not to. He has one theater, and that's all he has. Like he has the new Beverly. And that's
right.
That's all the mess he needs to be involved with because it's not. I mean, who knows at this point, right? Like, especially with this sort of, in a sense, a horrible blow that Warner Brothers has delivered to all these theaters, to tell them they want to do this. I almost felt like they should have been doing a thing where, like, in the middle of the summer, they just reverse course on everything. Like, hey, we're not gonna put this on HBO Max anymore. We're just gonna like let everything be the way it should be, Yeah. Because I think people are dying to come back to the theaters. When I was watching Scott Pilgrim, I mean, it was a great fucking audience. Like, I at the very beginning. Like, I yelled something out, like, I forget what it was. Like, I was like, yeah! And everyone was like, and LA audiences are very reserved usually, but people were like, yeah! Like, and it was like a release. It was a release of sorts, Like, we were happy to be together. We were happy to be together again. Like, it was together.
That's why I'm really excited to see Spiral. I already have my tickets, seeing it next week. Opening night. I'm really excited to go because that's one of the Saw movies were those horror movies that I would see every year in October. I would go midnight screenings when midnight screenings were still a thing, would see them in just sold out theaters, at least for like the first 5 were sold out theaters, midnight screenings, and like the audience was just having a blast. And now we get one that looks like it's probably going to be the first like truly great one besides the first one. That little indie kind of.
Are you guys on Clubhouse at all?
I have
Clubhouse. I've never messed around with it.
Yeah, it's a bunch of time suckage. I'll be honest with you. But a writer, this Josh guy,
Josh Silver, yeah,
he's been like all over that thing, and you can just like talk to him, and it's kind of crazy. Like,
he just followed me on Twitter, and I was like super stoked because I love Jigsaw. I thought Jigsaw was great. A lot of people don't like it. I thought it was really good.
I thought it was good. I mean, if you follow the whole, I mean, listen, let's put it this way. The Saw series has always been better than it deserves to be, right? Like it actually has sort of like it's almost the Purge, like I mean, the first Saw was good, but it wasn't great. But subsequent Saws, like with the Patrick Mellon guy and the other his writing partner, they did like 4 or 5 of them, I want to say, all kind of each better than the next, right? And you're like, oh, that person from this is, and okay, they did a good job of weaving it all together and stuff like this, right? And so, like, I think that, like, that guy on the Clubhouse is kind of weirdly accessible and kind of cool. I haven't seen him on a couple days, I'll be honest, but I go on like when I'm in the pool or something. Like I'm not reading a script. I'm not gonna fucking get involved with this time suckage. But if I'm in the pool and I'm just floating around, having a beer or doing whatever else, I'll go on Clubhouse then and stuff. But there's a lot of interesting like horror movie people on there. Like, I mean, Barbara Crampton is on there like all the time. You can talk to her. Like, she's just on there like it's a job. And like Kelly Maroney and like from Night of the Comet, and she's in a ton of stuff like got Chopping Mall and stuff like that. It's interesting, these older lady people that are like, I'm trying to keep relevant and like, all right, cool, good to see you here. And they're cool. But it might be interesting for some of to go check it out at some point. But just don't get sucked into it. It's a lot of time suckage. For the first week I was on like a lot, and I was like, I don't need to be on here. The guy that wrote the movie Host, the Zoom movie.
Yeah, Jed.
That guy's on there so much. I don't know how he's writing anything. Like he like literally is on there like almost 24/7, and I think he's in London or something. And it's like
that dude seems like a workhorse. That dude has got something going on. He's making a video game right now.
Yeah, like a live action video game that you can only play from like 10 p.m. to like 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's kind of modeled after this stuff that was like more probably my age, whatever, where they had these like horror video games, let's say, where it would be like they'd shoot live footage for it, and then they like you hit a decision and it would like show the that kind of shit. So it's an interesting idea, don't get me wrong, but he's on there fucking quite a lot. I'll say that. Yeah. So anyway, we're getting away from Emile Hirsch.
We really are. But Emile Hirsch is great in the movie, and it's towards the end. It made me wish he was in so much more, because he is able to flick that switch from like very nuanced to just absolutely batshit crazy. Like when he's like talking to the cops outside, and he like tries to act more menacing than he really is. Like he controls time, which is like powerful, but like he's like, back away before, like he just goes like crazy, and he's like, back away before I melt all your brains, ha ha ha. Like he's so good at just like flipping that switch. And
he has sort of a, as an actor, a dark edge to him. Yeah. Right? Where you can kind of see him, whatever he's saying, it's a nice kind of thing. You can kind of tell that maybe he wants to kill you still.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like he is really great. And when you try to cast people, you kind of look for certain things, and I mean, look, I was looking up his agent the other day because I was like, I need to cast him in this thing because we're not getting anybody that we need to get right now, and I know he'll do indie films, for example. So like I was thinking about him, but I thought about him a lot more even watching this again last night when I was seeing how he can he's the angry dad, but he can also be very persuasive, and there's something maybe kind of seedy about him at some points, I'd say, but yet he is very loving, weirdly. Like, I mean, he kind of, when I was talking about, like, when you try to pitch an actor to want to do your movie, you write him a nice letter or whatever, let's say, which is what these guys did, then you are trying to say, listen, this is a role that you're going to get to play all kinds of things. You get to go big. You get to also, like, show your range of sorts. And that's another reason why this movie is great, because not only does he get to do it, but again, I was talking about it before, Bruce Dern gets to do it too.
When Bruce Dern, he first shows up through the window. You see the ice cream truck through the window. I was so terrified. I was like, this guy is so creepy. Like just seeing him like handing the ice cream over, and then seeing him like come up to the door and his hand go through the mail slot and like push the book through. I was like, this is so creepy. Like he's so good. Like just like seeing his hand, like just it's so creepy.
I mean, Bruce Dern is fantastic. He's literally an old guy trying to coerce a little child to come into his weird van. It's like that's how almost on the nose it is, but like it's playing with your. They're building up the distrust. That's one of the thriller aspects I like of it, is like you can't really figure out like what anybody's motive is for half the movie, and it's by design. But it, like for like Emile, that scene where Emile Hirsch comes home He's supposed to go get the ice cream, but he's like bleeding, and he's like, "Oh, shut the door!" And then like you juxtapose that with like she looks out the window and like little girl's getting ice cream. So you're like, oh, I thought it was like the post-apocalypse outside, but it's not. Like I thought there was almost a whole version of this movie where I was going to find out like nothing, like he was just doing some weird like 10 Cloverfield Lane shit where like nothing bad happened. You know what I mean?
I didn't even think about that. The whole idea that there is something else, like an apocalypse going on because of him coming home with the gut, like the gut wound or whatever it is.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell happened? He went to the store and he got shot. Like, what is going on? And it felt like I couldn't like really track it, but that was what got me. So that's like what really pulled me in. I was like, where are we going with?
You have to think about like where they got all that money, right? So does he just slow down time and like steal a bunch of money and then come back home and put it in the closet? Like, is that what's going on? Like, yeah. You know, I'm so sorry I didn't turn the comments thing on here and just notice whatever everybody was saying till now. Sadly, I was just like on private chat and I'm like, oh, there's all these nice comments and stuff.
That's all right.
Like,
we were popping them up for you. No worries.
All right, good enough. Well, I feel like we've done the movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, unless you guys want to talk about some more stuff regarding the movie and everything, you know, of course, happy to stay on as long as you can hear me.
No, I mean this is kind of precisely like the Alok Mishra experience that I always
that you were hoping for, that you received.
You know, usually we're pretty streamlined. You know, we bring people in, we talk about the movie. You know, we hit a bunch of notes, and then we call it a night. I was like, you know, it's not always A to B to C. I knew we were going to do some detours along the way, and that's absolutely what I expected.
I think we did a good hour and 45.
Yeah, we got a lot of good background information. We've gone off the rails. You know, it's a classic Alok episode, but Freaks, if it's on Netflix, everybody has Netflix. Go watch Freaks.
If you don't, I don't know what's wrong with you at this point. It's like, you know,
it's a brilliant like sci-fi thriller horror movie that you should check out. It's a hidden gem, if anything.
For sure,
100% a hidden gem. I mean, if you haven't seen it, like, don't watch. You know, when you click on the fucking thumbnail, they all start playing some shit that's
click play right away.
So super spoilerish.
Yeah,
that like just hit play. Be ready to hit play. I mean, if you don't want to hit play, don't fucking put your fucking thing over the cursor. Let's say, like, I mean, just get onto it like right away. I mean, sadly, going back to 1BR is the same way too. If you go on that fucking thumbnail, it's like, we worked so hard on that goddamn trailer not to spoil anything. And when it's on Netflix, it's like, this is the most spoilerish shit you can put on here.
Yeah.
Literally, like, she's in the fucking, the fucking torture room. Like, it's, you got to just move on. You got to hit play and go. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just for sure too. It's a great sort of twist thriller, perspective on the kind of stories that I feel like are really familiar now, these superhero stories, these kind of comic book stories, but finding a sort of indie film, small scale way to tell it that's
well, even despite those kind of stories that are going on now, let's call it, that kind of like they're taking all this superhero genre and trying to fix it different ways to show you something new. Even despite that kind of shit, fucking works like gangbusters. Like, right, there's nothing that's been better that's been this small, that's been able to, like, kind of get you to emote such emotion once you watch it. Like, the ending of the fucking movie will fucking break your heart, and also just be like, what is coming now? Right? Like, so it's definitely a must watch. If you haven't seen it, you're doing yourself a disservice by not watching it.
Yeah, definitely watch it, tweet about it so we can get another one or a series or something, because I want to see more of this, and so hopefully more people watch it. I would like to think we don't stray people wrong on this show. I think we have good recommendations, especially Alok has great recommendations. So if he's vouching for it, watch the movie, tweet about it. Hopefully we can get another one and see more of this universe.
Smash that play button. Smash that play button. Get it going.
100%.
Thank you for bringing this one to us, Alok. I don't know if I would have checked it out otherwise. So by the same token, hopefully we can encourage people to do the same and check it out and get some buzz going for it. Before we wrap up tonight, it's tradition around here to ask you, Alok, where can all the good ghouls and goblins find you out there on the internet?
You know, I'm not saying I run our Twitter for 1BR_film. We are a minion. There's a lot of people that are involved, apparently. So there's that for that. And then, you know, 1BR_film, I think, for the fucking Facebook or whatever. If you just type in 1BR, you'll find it. It's very easy. Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I would want to, you know, sort of like, you know, plug in that regard. It's available on Netflix, 1BR, and it's also available if you're in the UK. It's available on Sky Cinema Premiere, which is like their sort of HBO of sorts, around the world on VOD on all kind of the major platforms and stuff like that. I always have to hype iTunes so I can see how we're doing in the horror charts every day. I check. I'm trying to see if you guys are going to get it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's all I got to plug. Always
there
a
it
pleasure,
is.
gentlemen. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
And look, if you're listening to this show and you haven't watched 1BR yet, come on, give me a break.
I mean, it is on Netflix, let's say. I mean, you could do a double header of this and then Freaks, right? And then also maybe, if you're smart, do a triple header, Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yeah.
I love that.
There we go.
No,
Great
but let 1BR first because other movies I think are better, frankly. And I want to be first, and you know, I don't want to be compared to those producer like envy better movies.
No, it's great. Clearly, we love 1BR. It's great. If you haven't checked it out, obviously go watch it. And of course, next Thursday, we'll be live once again. Really Scared. We'll be joined by the great Twitch streamer Ashlina. Great fan of horror films, video games. She runs a great channel over on Twitch. And we will be talking, of course, you knew we were going to get to this one, Hereditary, which I think is streaming on Cinemax, right? No, Showtime. It's on Showtime.
And Amazon.
And Amazon. Okay, cool. So yeah, easy to watch. I'm sure you've seen it already, but if not, go check it out. We'll obviously have tons to say about Hereditary.
Almost a perfect movie in a lot of ways, except for like it's too goddamn long. And they lose some of the goodwill for being that long. And by the time they get to the end, when I was in the theater, and I saw it twice in the theater, people were laughing at it. And they shouldn't be laughing at it, frankly. But,
I kind of get that.
But the problem is they gave that kid Final Cut for fucking everything. And so goddamn Midsummer, right?
Yeah.
I saw the director's cut of that, right? And I was in New Jersey and I went into the city, the only place that was playing the director's cut of this, right? And I took an hour and a half like train to get in, and I was like all excited to see it. And then I watched that fucking movie and I was like, well, you can see it coming from a million miles away, what it's about. And then it takes a million years to get there, is what I said, right? And I gotta say this. It's not a terrible film, but I did not like it. And then I was lined up to do a double feature of It 2. To It.
Oh, wow.
I literally walked up to this like other theater that wasn't the theater I was at originally. And I was like about to buy the ticket. And I keep on like hearing all these things that are bad about It 2, which are completely true, by the way, because I did not like it at all. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do another 2.5 fucking hours for this bullshit. Like that was not, I knew wasn't going to be good. I mean, Hereditary, I didn't know. But I was like, I will never watch Hereditary again. No, sorry, not Hereditary. I will never watch Midsummer again. Hereditary, I think, is still a good movie, but it just needs to be shorter. Yeah. But you'll find out. I'm sure you'll tell everything. You'll tell the world.
We'll have plenty to discuss. Yeah, we'll have plenty to discuss. That's your little teaser.
All right. Oh, it's good.
Alok, thank you again for coming on, man. It's always a thrill and a blast to have you on. I appreciate it.
Of course, gentlemen.
Before we go, make sure you join our Discord. It is we have channels for all of our shows on the channel where you can chat. We'll share news and stuff. That's What Real Entertainment is our Discord. We'll go ahead and tweet out a link. And we also have Streamlabs. So you can donate if you feel like helping grow the channel. We can do more. That link is at the bottom there. So just a couple ways to help out the channel. So
absolutely. And as always, badge up.
Badge fucking up.
Badge up.